Hello, this is 2016 number 8 vlog, and today I'm going to go and do this vlog with a background of Parkland Walk. I mean, I did one a little while ago about the nature reserve, whose name I can't even remember now. Welsh Harp. I knew it began with a W, right? Okay. So there's another one called Parkland Walk in Hackney, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that walk. The southern part of it, because there's two parts, and I was tired by the time I'd done the southern part. So we'll do the northern part some other time. And I'm also going to talk about some other things. I've discovered a colleague, or an ex-colleague of mine, has committed a crime, and I'll talk about that. I'm interested in Elon Musk's plans for Tesla. A little bit of news about Pokémon Go. Fraud, got figures out for fraud in this country, and I think they're quite astounding, but not terribly surprising because nothing is done about it, right? Property prices post-Brexit. There's a bit of news about that. As you know, I consider property prices in London to be absolutely insane. This news doesn't really change that, but still there's news. A little bit about Britain in post-Brexit world, I suppose I'll talk about. And how the heck do young people these days buy a property? I can't afford one, and I'm a baby boomer, technically. And I should be able to, but my career was... so I couldn't. But, so we'll talk about all these things, I guess, whilst I trudge along the Parkland Walk. So let's go there now. Okay, bye for now. Okay, well, here we are at Finsbury Park Underground and Overground station, and it's a bus terminus too, so it's easy to get to. Victoria line, I think, but the idea is you come out and you head towards that cycle path which is currently being blocked by a bus. So let's just head over there and have a look. The Parkland Walk starts from Finsbury Park, which is just up here basically. I'm afraid it's all a bit wobbly. I'm trying to zoom. Maybe I shouldn't walk and zoom at the same time. Anyway, just go up here basically, and that's get into the park. Finsbury Park is one of London's many large parks. Something like about half of London's land area is open space of some sort, although I think that may be counting people's gardens as well, I'm not really sure. But Finsbury Park is another big park, along the lines of Hyde Park and Regent's Park, something like that. It's maybe not as big as those, but it's still pretty big. More comparable to Regent's Park, I suppose, but up in North London. So you go into the park and you basically turn left and just follow the footpath up along. You can see some tennis courts and stuff up ahead. You go past them. The Parkland Walk itself is something like 4.5 miles long, the entire thing, but I'm only going to do the southern part, which I guess is less than that, but it's still quite a longish walk. I found it quite tiring in a way. That distance, 7 kilometres or so, 4.5 miles, something like that, but I guess the southern half must be 2 to 3 miles. Maybe something like 4 or 5 kilometres, I don't know. Or you might just stop in Finsbury Park, be tired as soon as you got out of the station, I don't know. There's stuff to do here, there's a little boating lake or something, there's grass and tennis courts and so on. But the Parkland Walk itself is actually a disused railway line. It was built in something like the 1860s to carry people from Finsbury Park up to Alexandra Palace. Unfortunately, Alexandra Palace burned down after about 2 weeks. So the line suddenly became redundant. And it struggled on, but there were bus routes up there. Alexandra Palace was eventually rebuilt. I think it's burnt down more than once and been rebuilt. I think it's burned down once in my memory. I remember something like in the 80s. I think it burned down as well. So it's had a bit of a history. But the railway line, eventually they gave up on it in the 70s. I think in 1971 the lines were taken up, and it's just been taken by the council as a nature reserve, basically. So they don't cultivate it as such. They dig up some of the weeds and keep the path clear, but basically plant and wildlife is left to get on as it will, with some help here and there. We just come across this little bridge, and this capital ring, if you can see the sign, it's hard to see, there we go, is part of a ring of walks that go all the way around Greater London. Now, Greater London is something like 30 miles across, so the capital ring must be, what, 2 pi r? Well, the r is 15, so 30 to 90 miles long, something like that. Pretty good. Although it doesn't go around the total edge of London, so it's probably more like 60 miles of walks. We're not right on the outskirts, we're halfway out here, something like that. And the walk starts sort of inauspiciously enough. I'd say it gets a bit better later on. But you can see, being in London, there's no escaping the people. And being a railway track, of course, it's not very wide, it's just long. But it is nice, it's pleasant. If you don't mind joggers and cyclists and so on. I mean, this walk is wide enough that cyclists don't ring their bell to pass you on the whole. If you go on some of the canal walks, the path is narrow and you're interrupted all the time by cyclists, and that's annoying. But here it's more sort of wham, wham, wham of joggers. Coming up behind you is a bit disturbing, but I suppose you get used to it if you do this walk much. I guess if I was a jogger I'd want to come here too, because it's ideal for it, really. So, and here we are. I mean, this is, I think, Child's Hill, somewhere like that. The walk goes through Stroud Green. Maybe this is Stroud Green. Child's Hill, or Crouch End, actually, technically. Highgate, Muswell Hill. Though you wouldn't know it because you're in the trees all the time, which is pretty cool. And these trees, I suppose, for the most part, have grown up since the 70s, or well, some of them are bigger than that, surely, but this is a lot of growth to have in, what, 40 years? So, I mentioned that a colleague or an ex-colleague of mine, I discovered in the papers, has committed and been convicted of a crime. Shockingly. He left where I work and went to work for a law firm doing IT support. I don't know, a year or so ago. And it turns out that at their Christmas party he followed a young lady a lawyer into the toilets and groped her and tried to take her clothes off, and he ran off when somebody else came in there. So now the thing about this, obviously he's been convicted. It was a law firm. I mean, what do you expect? It's just mind-boggling. The whole thing to me is mind-boggling. I mean, apart from committing the crime in the first place, I mean, it's hard to think of places where you can be more certain to be prosecuted if you're going to commit a crime than in the offices of a law firm against a lawyer. I mean, hello? I mean, I suppose a police station might be a worse place to commit a crime, or maybe a law court, but I'm not even certain about that. It's just mind-boggling, incredible that anyone would do that. I mean, he was an intelligent guy. Obviously, he was doing IT support. You can't be too slow if you're doing that. And it's like, what was he thinking? I guess the answer is he wasn't thinking, he was drinking. According to the news reports, he had been drinking, and it was a Christmas party after all. And I guess that's where the loss of control came in, because normally, you know, speaking to the guy, he was perfectly normal, down on criminals generally, and yet too much beer and stupid instincts take control. And in a way, this is a part of what I have against this sort of idiotic beer culture that we have, not just in Britain but throughout the Anglo world, frankly. People think it's adult or manly, or in case of women that they're independent if they drink. You know, I'm an independent woman, I'm going to drink, I'm going to drive, well, I don't care. Well, or I'm a man now, I'm an adult, I'm going to drink and show it. Yeah, it's actually childish, not adult. This desperation to show that you're grown up is like so bad, infantile, really. I'm sure that's where it comes from, because people pretend to enjoy all the beer and they say, oh, it's fantastic. The stuff tastes bitter and nasty, let's face it. I think, anyway. I mean, sometimes it's drinkable, but really it's not that pleasant. And you can see it in their eyes sometimes when they're pretending to enjoy it. There's a kind of a look of fear in their eyes when they're telling you how much they're enjoying it, like you're going to challenge them on that. It's a bit like George Osborne when he's announcing the budget or being asked questions by a journalist. He's the Chancellor over here, and he or used to be the Chancellor over here, and he always looked slightly scared when he was being asked questions by journalists. There's that same look in the eye when speaking to people who've been drinking a bit too much and are pretending that they're enjoying themselves. In fact, they're blotting out their miserable lives, or just pretending to be one of the in crowd and pretending to be grown up. Well, you can read this about the rare acid grassland. The Parkland Walk is much appreciated as a piece of countryside in the heart of London, blah 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 blah. You can stop the video to read it here. It's the only acid grassland of its kind along the Parkland Walk. So it looks like an ordinary field. And actually it's tiny little patch. It's so strange that this tiny little patch of grass is important nationally for nature. And literally that patch of grass is about the size of some people's gardens. And I don't mean rich people's gardens. I suppose it shows what you can do with your garden. I like this sort of industrial ruin like this bridge is very nice. Now in one of these arches there is some spirit statue somewhere, but I didn't see it when I was walking past. I was hoping to put it on the camera, but I must have missed it. I probably just didn't look in the right arch, but at the top of one of them there's some statue guy or sculpture. So I'll leave it to you to explore. Obviously graffiti is approved of here. This is really a really nice walk. And talking about that old technology, it kind of segues into new technology and Elon Musk's plans for Tesla. I was interested to see. I mean, he's got this sort of solar-powered battery thing for houses, where you'll stick these fuel cells or batteries on your wall. Oh, what's that? That is an English sparrow. Nothing like the American sparrow, which is more like a black bird with a red breast. This is a little brown bird. Not a sparrow, this is a robin. What am I talking about? Which has gone, been scared off by people who walk in front of the camera. Even though there's plenty of room to walk behind. Okay. Bizarre. Anyway, that was a robin, which is a brown bird with a red breast. In Britain, I guess in Europe too. But he's also talking about having solar cells on the roof of your house to charge these batteries. I suppose this is not a new idea. What's new is, of course, that the technology now exists to make it feasible. Batteries are good enough. Just about. Maybe with a few more years research to be done, but and you can even, of course, plug into the grid if you don't use all the power and feed that power back into the grid and make some money out of it, potentially. But he's also talking about, I suppose, solar-powered cars or at least self-drive fleet of cars. They'll have to be ergonomically or ecologically good, I suppose. He's going to have fleets of cars and buses and taxis. They'll be shareable in the sense that you can buy them and they can drive themselves, or they will be able to when it's legal and when all the software is up to scratch, but they've got the hardware built in. And when you're not using them, you can just add them to the shared fleet and they can be a sort of self-driven taxi, making you money. And in the same way, bus drivers could become fleet managers, in effect, rather than drivers. Which is okay as long as people behave themselves on these vehicles. I mean, you get the sort of teenage morons and drinkers and so on. Everywhere, I suppose. Causing trouble. I recognise that character. I think it's a good idea. I'm looking forward to self-drive vehicles because I quite enjoy driving, but it's very dangerous, basically. Thousands of people are killed and injured every year, tens of thousands worldwide. It's ridiculous. Humans are not made for this, even though it's fun. And stressful. Oops, a bit muddy here. My camera's focus is a little soft here. It never quite knows what to do. I would like a cheap camera with manual focus, because sometimes the camera just doesn't understand. But it was cheap, and that's the main thing. And talking of cartoon characters, actually, Pokémon Go has been out for a week or two. Nintendo's shares are up 50%. Darn, I didn't buy any. Drat. It might be up in one of these that spirit guy statue is, but as I say, I missed it. It was in some tall archway like those. So keep your eyes open for him. But people in Saudi Arabia are not allowed to play it. It's being banned. Some religious cleric has reissued a ban on the original game. It was banned in 2001. It's been banned again as un-Islamic. Now here's an old station. It's weird to see it like this, but kind of nice too. Apparently Pokemon Go is un-Islamic because it promotes the theory of evolution. Okay, because your Pokemons can develop and evolve. It uses symbols and logos of a number of devious religions and organisations, apparently. Well, I guess it does. Well, sorry Saudis. You'll have to play it illegally. And carefully, since it's an outdoor game. I know a lot of people don't think much of the theory of evolution, and I have to say I do believe in the theory of evolution, if you like, Darwin's theory of evolution, indeed. I mean, it may need modifying here and there, but I think it's basically correct. And I'm sort of tempted to do a video every now and then about it, but the amount of research required is quite a lot, and I just don't have much time. But I might start putting one together, I don't know. There is a lot of evidence in favour of it, and I suppose the point of reason is that you would use evidence to determine whether something is true and not what some holy book says, basically. And actually the Bible, for example, doesn't say that evolution hasn't happened. It just says that God created the creatures in 7 days. And some people say, well, that's metaphorical. And some people say, no, it isn't. But anyway, I think evolution happened, so there, and is happening now. And it's obvious to me. Anyway, so if you want a bit of a snack halfway along the walk, there you go. Somewhere up there. I can't vouch for what the cafe is like, but I would imagine it'll do English breakfasts or something like that, so it can't be bad. That's going by the look of the sign. It has that sort of English breakfasty look about it. For all I know, it's really posh, but I doubt it. So here we are, the Capital Ring. We've gone 1.5 miles from Finsbury Park, and we've got 1.5 miles to go to Highgate Wood, so we are indeed halfway. You can get to Richmond if you want to walk 26.5 miles, or Woolwich Foot Tunnel for 16.5 miles. If you look on the maps, there are green routes most of the way. You sometimes have to bypass this or that bit of town, but it's kind of connected up. We have some loud cyclists here. Upper middle class, presumably, that's the way they talk. Living in Hampstead or Highgate, no doubt. See a bit of help for nature there? Just keep it upright for some reason. I'm afraid I don't favour religion and its anti-reason nonsense. The West is great because of the use of reason. Historically, we were the same as other civilizations, and we've left them way behind. I mean, they've caught up basically by copying us and copying our technology. Although I have to say the Middle East is in large sections having big trouble with this, because that religion is still in its middle-aged phase, or Middle Ages phase if you like, and doesn't have the compatible ideas. So I think if the West was to decline, the Middle East would probably decline too. They wouldn't maintain all that much, I think. I saw some stories about fraud and cybercrime in the papers this week. Apparently there were 2.5 million online crimes involving banking and credit account fraud. 2.5, that's in Britain, in the UK. I mean, worldwide it must be many, many more. And on top of that, there were 1 million online shopping frauds and 2 million frauds involving hacking and viruses in the UK. So that's 5.5 million frauds, and that's only the ones that have been reported and recorded. I would guess that at least that many again just go unreported. You know, they take their laptop into the shop and get it fixed. Somebody's broken my laptop, I got a virus, I clicked on something and my password is 12345 and I've been hacked, I don't understand it. I must say, I mean, you go to a certain website in this country if you want to report some of these frauds to the police, and it kind of warns you on the website that they're actually not going to do anything about it. They just want to record it for statistics purposes. And these are the stats from last year. And yes, as far as cybercrime and minor fraud, that is fraud of non-influential poor people, the police are a complete and utter waste of time. They do nothing, they don't understand the nature of the crimes. I reported once that a director of a company I was working with had stolen money from the company, and the local bobbies, they just couldn't understand that the money did not belong to the director, it belonged to the company. They have no understanding or training in company law. I think they expect you to go to a lawyer and not grope them, but hire them to sue somebody. But these things are actually criminal offences, and they should be prosecuted by the state, and the police don't understand this type of crime and don't do anything about it. They're busy enough dealing with yobs and murderers and people like that. And I guess there is very little being done about fraud and cybercrime generally, and fraud generally. And it's basically easy for anyone who's reasonably intelligent to get away with it, it seems to me. Provided they're A, intelligent, and B, not the sort of person who always gets caught. Because I'm the sort of person, if I did something wrong, I would probably get caught. Because I'm too honest and I would just tell them the truth. But if you're a naturally dishonest person, I mean, the idiots around are just ripe for the plucking, basically. And nobody is doing anything much about it. Unless you're too stupid and get too greedy, and then of course it becomes visible. I can remember a company I worked for many years ago. They paid this guy quite a number of sums of money over some period of time, something like £100,000 in all, to prepare and publish a series of books, which he didn't do. He spent the money on his children's college fees, and he basically robbed them of the money, £100,000 in effect. He just didn't keep his side of the deal. And he went to the police, not interested, not a big enough crime. Went to Scotland Yard, they wouldn't touch it if it was less than £300,000. Can you believe it? Basically, he would have had to sue the guy and produce all the evidence himself, but having been robbed of 100 grand, of course, he has no money to sue anybody. And this is how it works. This is how they get away with it. They know what the limits are, and they take their chances. I guess sometimes people do get caught, but it's just hopeless. And of course, the really rich people who are our government, like David Cameron, he was worth about 40 million. I've seen an article recently says he owns about 4 million of property, but he's worth about 40 million in all. Of course, these people, I mean, they have no clue. You know, their idea is, well, if someone commits fraud, sue them. But they don't seem to get that if you're living on sort of tuppence, you don't have £10,000 an hour to go to the High Court and sue anybody, which is what it costs. If you can't spare 5 or 6 figure sums easily, you're stuffed, basically, if you are defrauded. If you're defrauded by an employer, you've got some protection because of employment law, workers' rights and so on. You still have to pay something now, like £1,000 or so, to get a tribunal case started, but if you're sure of your ground, then you can do that, and you're fairly likely to win those sorts of cases, because the tribunal will have heard all these stupid stories that employers give. Oh, he doesn't have a contract and all this business. Well, they know all that, and you will win. But for other forms of fraud, you're basically stuffed. And it's a disgrace, really. There's the walk, there's the old whoops. Have a nice trip. Right. I guess this was a railway bridge once upon a time. Expensive houses. It's raining slightly. It's sunny, 28 degrees or so Celsius. What's that, 80 Fahrenheit or so? It's just started raining a bit. But there's some cover under these trees, so it should be alright. It's nice around this part, I think. Well, what else have I seen this week? Property prices, yeah. Post-Brexit. Well, prices in London are still... Apparently they're sort of wobbling a bit, but not going down. The figure I saw was that they're up about 13% so far this year. It's July now. They're up until June, they're up about 13%. And about 10% nationally. But the volume of sales is down about 8% in London. And 15% more properties have gone onto the listings than is usual, though. So what I think is happening here is that people have seen the Brexit vote. I think this is actually up to date, up to this week, not up to January, up to June. It's up to this week because people have. These are the result. The 15% more listings since the Brexit vote. You see, so it must be recent. I think people are thinking the market may have topped out, so they're trying to realise their profits. And hence the market is sort of slowed down somewhat. But still going up. Still insane. I mean, I think the property prices need to come down by like 80%. Obviously, property owners don't like the sound of that, I'm sure. Especially those with mortgages, because negative equity will mean they risk losing their homes. If the value of the home goes down below what they owe, then their loan is no longer secured, and banks are inclined to get that money back somehow by foreclosure or something. Obviously, if it happens en masse, they will go for the easy meats, the people who owe a lot and are maybe one payment behind or something like that. They'll grab those and sell them cheap just to get cash in. If you owe a vast amount, though, they'll let you off because they don't want to lose so much. It's kind of paradoxical. If you owe a little, they have less to lose, so they might go for those. But hopefully, house prices will just sort of stabilise, and we can wait a few years for the economy to catch up, rather than have them crash. But crashing is what they really should do. And we are in an economic depression, and that sort of thing happens. It can take a few years. Property market is usually slow moving, but it can happen. Especially if more people are trying to sell, if unemployment is up, it isn't at the moment, things of that sort. At the moment it's just okay. But if you're a first time buyer, hard luck, it's still not cheap. You need 30,000 plus as a deposit at least, in most cases. And you're going to be paying hundreds of thousands on your mortgage somehow, with both partners working. A single person has very little chance on a normal job. It has to be said, though, the market was slowing down a bit even before Brexit. I mean, for the last couple of years, since 2014, it's been slowing down a bit because there've been changes in the tax regime a bit, and things like that have slowed it down. And maybe actually demand is starting to peter out a bit. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Commercial property demand is significantly down apparently, but I haven't seen the numbers. But I know that various property funds have frozen their assets, that is to stop people disinvesting. You can't take your cash out of these funds having invested at the moment, because they're basically robbing these people of some profits, presumably, by doing that. It's another form of fraud, but that's legalised. A bit like payday loans, legalised fraud. I'll stick links to the info that I have, just in case you're interested. If property prices do go down or stabilise, it may not happen in every district of London. London is sort of formed of lots of little towns which are joined together over the centuries, and some districts are much favoured by, say, EU visitors. Go to Angel in Islington, or I don't know, Kensington, somewhere. They like those places. But Nice big dog.
Sorry, sir.
He's just noticed me there. Whereas, I don't know, Japanese people like Acton, and so on. Jewish people like Golders Green, and so it goes. You know, all these different districts. So some groups may be put off by Brexit, whereas others won't. So the prices will vary and up and downs will vary by region, I would say. Overall, I saw that Frankfurt in Germany, the financiers there think Frankfurt will benefit from Brexit, because obviously London will have a little bit more difficulty dealing with Europe, and they're thinking that they can form a sort of a bridge between London and the EU. Because obviously they think, they recognise that London is going to remain the world's main financial centre, but they can sort of mop up some of the crumbs more easily with Brexit, and I suppose they're probably right. Bats. There are bats here. Pipistrelles. Ooh, little critter on the board. I guess you can stop the video to read it properly if you want to. The common pipistrelle, there it is. Dew Benton's bat. Dewey Benton's bat? I don't know. Brown long-eared bat. Best time to see them is dawn and dusk. Now, I'll show you that in a minute, down there. That's where they live. But up here, just up this path, this is the exit from the southern part of the walk. Or, it's not actually the total end of the southern part. There's a bit more. We're going to go into Queenswood as well. But let's just look where the bats live. Talking of bats, we've got a new Prime Minister now, Theresa May. All the propaganda is that she's a strong character. They're trying to say she's a bit like Margaret Thatcher, which she probably isn't, but you know. But basically after Brexit, we need a strong mumsy figure to give us a good spanking for the way we voted. And she's the one. So all the media seem to be in favour of her, basically. So we're enduring this sort of honeymoon period for now, where she can't do any wrong for a little while. And we'll see how it goes. She's another one of these people with lots of money. She owns about £1.6 million worth of properties, apparently. So I don't know what her actual total net worth is. Obviously, I haven't seen in the figures, but those were figures for property that I saw. By comparison, David Cameron had 4 million in property and was worth about 40 million. So it's possible that she's worth considerably more than 1.6 million. But she does seem to have a more down-to-earth attitude than David Cameron. This is where the bats live. They're sort of fenced off for protection, but they can fly through the gaps easily enough. But they live in there. I guess they fly in these dark holes, and is that one? Can't really tell. Could be. I'm not sure. I doubt it. Maybe it's too close to the edge, but maybe. It's good use of old tunnels, basically. And there's another one just around here. And we can go back out this way. Oh, can you see the spider? I can't see on my screen when I'm using the camera because it's too bright. Oh, there we go. Can we zoom in on him? Yeah, how about that? Ooh. Camera not sure what to focus on as usual. I do have a problem using this camera in bright sunlight because I just cannot see what's on the screen. It's too bright usually and the screen is too dim or there's reflections. But let's go up to the exit from this area. I mean, you can stop the walk basically here if you want to. I'm going to go on a bit further, but I mean, up here there are cafes and stuff. If if you're tired and what have you, or you just want to get a bus and go home or go somewhere else, fine. We're just in Highgate, and we'll just come up to the high street in a minute. You see, it's not a terribly long walk. It's certainly doable and quite pleasant if you don't mind the joggers dump 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 every few seconds. So, I do mind them, but I suppose I'll get used to them if they don't bump into me or anything. And that is Club Boogaloo, some sort of trendy cafe thing. Or restaurant or something. I see they've done some sort of official graffiti on the walls to make you think it's a trendy place and help you spend your money there. But it is better than just being boring. Have they eaten enough food? Not here, obviously. Filthy McNasties. Never play cards with a man named Doc. Very voodoo, hey? So there's the entrance if you come in this end is on Holmesdale Road. And this is the High Street in Highgate, I guess. It's one of them. It's not Highgate. There's another bit of Highgate, but buffalo wings. Price is not too obscene. That's good. So we just come up the hill, and I'm going to try and join the other part of the walk, or at least the next section of the southern part, because, as I mentioned, you have to sort of interrupt it here and there because there are towns in the way. In this case Highgate, but we can follow it. You can either follow you can follow either sign. I'm going to try and turn to the right and follow the Capitol Ring. But you can join it up there too. Let's cross the road, shall we? Okay. I'm going to ignore that sign and not go that way. I go this way. Because I want to walk through Queen's Wood. Now I'll tell you now that this bit didn't work out very well. As it turns out, there's some works going on, and the path I wanted to take was blocked, but we'll see that in a bit. So I should have gone the other way, but for now we can go down here. This is where I went. Normally this way works. I've been on bits of this route before for various reasons. Just get past the hobgoblins and reach the bottom of the path, shall we? Now, you can just see on the lamppost opposite there's a capital ring signs again pointing in either direction. Note they're not pointing in both directions. Each one is pointing in one direction only, so they point in either direction. One sign doesn't point in both directions. Just being picky there. So we turn right here, but I should have turned left because the right hand way is closed. So in a bit we'll come back. But for now we're going left where you would normally go. And that's the other way. Again, decent houses here. There's money in this district, Highgate. We just walk down the road a bit. Up ahead you can see there's a house straight ahead. The road sort of curves to the right and that's where the path continues down there. So let's zoom down a bit. And here it is, but unfortunately it's closed. Please use alleyway adjacent Highgate station. If you're supposed to know where that is, of course, but it's behind you. You see the path is closed off for essential sewer works in the woods, mysteriously. So I think, well, what's up here? At this point, I decide to check my map on my phone, and I realise I'm supposed to go back the other way. So that's what I do. So we've headed back, and it's as if we've turned left at that original place, and we're coming up to Highgate Tube Station. The other side of this station is that high street that we could have gone up, that we saw earlier, the route I didn't take. So we just go up this alleyway. I hope you don't mind walking up a steep slope. Those barriers are there to stop people barreling down on bicycles, I suppose. Yes. Yes, it is. See, when I carry the camera down by my side, people don't realise I'm still filming, which is handy because it draws less attention to it, basically. See, if I had one of these stabilising gadgets, it would be a nuisance because it would really draw attention to it. So we have wobbling instead. So here we are. Muswell Hill Drive is behind me, and we go down here. Muswell Hill Road, sorry. Here we go. And there's the high street over there on the left. Now we go down here. Again, nice houses. It's very countryside, this part of London. Decent houses, very decent houses. These are millionaire type homes, as usual. Nothing I can afford. Why don't I win the lottery, hey? With a big sum. This is Wood Lane, by the way. And then it changes into Queenswood Road. Same road. Now, it's not clear where to pick up the path. I haven't done this bit of the walk before, so I'm not clear about where to pick up the path. So let's have a look down here at the end of the fence. Clearly people do walk down here. I can see some sort of evidence of tracks. And there is a path down at the bottom. Doesn't look like what I was expecting to see. And indeed it wasn't, as you will see. It's just some little cul-de-sac, basically. That's not what I was looking for. So back we go. Getting plenty of exercise anyway. I have one of these up bands. I think I did 20,000 paces or so today. 16 kilometers or so, it thinks. Although I have noticed it kind of counts some walking time when you're on a bus or a train as well, so it's probably less than that I did, but it felt like it. I was very tired. It's good exercise, this walk, especially if you're going up and down hills in Highgate. So we carry on down Queenswood Road a bit further. Down here maybe, oh, a squirrel, look. Wildlife, you see. Come on camera, focus. No, it doesn't know how to focus, no. Honestly. Can I see my sort of this grey smudge in the middle there? There we go. That's better. there's a crow up ahead. I presume it's a crow. Oops, gone. Can't find him because I couldn't see what was on my screen as usual. Oh well. Now there on the right is where we would have turned out if the pathway had not been blocked. And so we carry on the left here, somewhere. So it's pretty obvious if you follow the path, which is to go down that slope where it was blocked before and turn left where there's a junction, and it brings you up here. And I just cross over and come to the Queen's Wood Local Nature Reserve. I saw another bit of news actually this week to do with property. That is, millennials, people under the age of 35, are spending £44,000 more on rent by the age of 30 than the baby boomers, who are the people between 50 and 70. So which way do we go? Left, basically. So, and Generation X, who are the 35 to 50-year-olds, are paying £25,000 more in rent than the baby boomers had to, in sort of equal value pounds. That's present day pounds. So millennials are people under 35, the millennial generation. Generation X is 35 to 50, and baby boomers is 50 to 70. So I'm a baby boomer. I didn't realise that. I should have really. I often wonder whether I was, but I never saw a definition before. But I found it this today. So we had it easy. It wasn't easy enough for me, but now millennials have to find 44,000 more in rent while they're saving up for a average £33,000 deposit they need, whilst paying back a student loan in many cases of maybe 50k. Oh, we used to have a monkey slide too. That's a rope with a mud slide underneath it. When I was a kid, we had one of those on a building site. It was pretty good. You try to jump down, grab the rope, and slide down the slope, and try not to kill yourself. It was pretty good. So, actually, I mean, 40% or so of student debts are never going to be fully repaid, it's estimated. Because the way it works is you might well have £50,000 owed, plus interest and goodness knows what, making it a lot more potentially. But you only pay 9% of anything you earn over £21,000 a year. So, and you only pay it for 30 years. After that, the debt is wiped out anyway. Plus also there are little loopholes in the law, like one colleague of mine went to live abroad for 5 years and his student loan was written off as a result. He just worked in France for 5 years. Bingo, no more student loan. Strange. I guess he didn't pay it in those 5 years, I don't know. But they wrote it off. And apparently you can do that if you want to be difficult. Or you can pay this extra 9% tax on anything over 21,000 that you earn. So in practice, a lot of people will pay off a little bit of extra. And that's it. So we now, in theory, the path goes left, but I'm rather intrigued by Frog Pool. We're going to end up at the Queen's Cafe, but what do you think? Frog Pool? I think so. Let's hope it's not too far. Yeah. I'll put a link to info about paying off student loans and stuff. I don't think it mentions the live abroad dodge. But obviously if your normal place of residence is not the UK, then you're not subject to UK taxes and whatnot. And I think if they're out of touch with you for 5 years, you get written off. Something like that. I wish they'd do that with other debts. This must be it. Starting to look a bit small and sort of amateur, a bit like that patch of grass which is nationally important. Maybe this is nationally important for frogs. I don't know. No dogs allowed. Okay. Oop. Somebody looking at the camera. Owned! Now he's seen me. Yeah, let your dog roam in the frog pool and kill all the flipping frogs. Why not? Idiot. Of course, they should fix the fence too, to keep the idiots and their dogs away. So, back to the cafe and the end of the walk. I will do the northern part of the walk. I guess I'll start where this one ends. I'm not sure when I'll do it. I've got to wait for good weather perhaps, or reasonable weather. It's a warm weekend this weekend. It's possible, but I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe in August I'll do it sometime. Another pond. A lot of insects buzzing around this one, which you probably can't see very well on the camera, and I can't see what I'm pointing at to show them to you, really. I can see one or two pond skaters there, perhaps. Oops, focus. There we go. And you can't get away from people on their phones either in London. Let's go for a walk in nature and be on my phone. So just make out the cafe there. It's coming up now. They do sort of, they have a small menu. It's not too expensive by British standards. You can have a meal for under £10 a person. I went in there after this video and had an English breakfast because that's a sort of dependable meal. That was fine. I will do another video, as I say, maybe in a few weeks' time, not too long, this summer sometime, I guess, showing the second part of the walk up to Alexandra Palace, and we can have a look around Alexandra Palace as well, and maybe Muswell Hill. It depends how long it takes. But that's it for now, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you, well, next video. To leave the park, you follow that sign to Highgate. There's a gate up there and you can catch a bus into town, right outside. So, okay then, bye for now.